It's a beautiful lilt. Yeah. And what, Mark, you had it really beautiful. Yeah. So, what's that white stuff? So, this is earthenware. Do y'all know what that is? So this is low temperature clay. So I don't want to get technical, but earthenware doesn't have to be red clay. Earthenware is really about the porosity of the clay. So you could have my own earthenware clay that I make. The temperature is quite low, like 2,000 degrees. But you could have an earthenware clay that's 2,200 degrees. It just depends on the porosity. But if we think about ceramics, earthenware is typically called like low temperature clay. And Melissa, with porcelain, that's what, 3,500.
It's around 8 million degrees.
8 million.
It's not quite 8 million, totally kidding. It's not 8 million at all. No, my clay, it has a pretty good temperature range, and I say pretty good in terms of not all clays have a big range in which they're okay being fired, but the high end of this clay is 2,300 and about 85 degrees, and that is what cones is, which we talk about firing temperatures in terms of cones because it is a universal means of measurement. So I use a cone 10 porcelain, and so it's a really fine body. And when I say fine, it's the particle size is really tiny. Whereas George's clay, and the way that George has manipulated his clay, has a bunch of different particle sizes in it. So there's chunky bits in there, and oftentimes the chunky bits are a lot more forgiving.
Absolutely.
They can create issues, but they can also be more forgiving. Porcelain being super, super, super fine, all the particles being super tiny, is not forgiving. It is a jerk to work with, but it is a jerk that I love. And it also gives me a really bright background to then go ahead and decorate. You gotta turn it on, Debbie.
I have a question for you. Does the wheel go counterclockwise or clockwise?
Depends on where we're at.
Where did they go when we texted?
It goes counterclockwise.
Okay,
in
thank
Texas.
you.
Do you want it to go clockwise? You want to really do yourself?
No, I've only been doing this a couple of months. I'm going to try it the way you said.
Yeah.
Is counterclockwise
The
against the
clay's
clock?
gonna go through your fingers that way.
Say that again?
The clay's gonna go through your fingers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You have to keep it like really wet. Is that the deal?
Slippery.
Okay. I think Melissa made a great point. My clay, for any of us working, it's very forgiving. It does a lot. You can mess with it a lot. But porcelain, I mean, you have to be a lot better than me to use that stuff, I'm telling you.
It's just different working properties.
Yeah.
Porcelain's not the kind of clay, if you've never touched clay before, porcelain's not the stuff you want to start with.
Exactly.
You might not ever want to touch clay again if you start with porcelain.
So I'm not going to use it then.
But I've been working with porcelain for probably about 17 years.
Oh, you must have started when you were a baby. Wow.
Newborn play programs.
These look like my kind of hats. Nothing fancy. Redneck hats. I love them, man. So I know that y'all, I know that we have 8 ceramic students from Chris's class. Are any of y'all in ceramics? Wow. So y'all are from Louisa's class? Yes. I forgot what it is. Wait a minute. I remember. I forgot. What is it? Art appreciation. Do y'all, obvious question, do you appreciate art?
I think if you say no, that's
too much of it, yeah.
Oh, I should have asked you in front of Louisa.
You guys know what appreciation means, right?
Oh, so
Because I
then,
can teach it.
no, go ahead.
We do works of the week, and Appreciation means you evaluate it favorably, right? Which there's other things you compare it to that aren't so hot. Like music, maybe, because, well, music's pretty good. But you chose art appreciation over music appreciation somehow? I know that.
So,
I heard it was easier.
That's never really
More effective.
Okay, more effective. I'm sorry.
some of the things that we say I know may not mean anything to y'all. We realize that. So like Louisa's class, I know that y'all use those back pins. I never have used those. So this is another method. Cookie, I think we call it a cookie. Piece of clay. And just stick that, and I make those little marks on there, you know. Then I have a wooden hammer, and I just hit it once like that, and it stays. But
I think it's not on mallet.
Does it really
Yeah, there's
stick on
one.
it?
You want to rub it
No,
out?
We have a mallet.
no, I think I
Rich yesterday even knew where it was. I think
Okay.
it's under that table now. Or it's in the back of one of them.
I mean, I'm just indicating that any of y'all have seen people do this. There's times when that thing comes off, so you just have to. I mean, I hit it like right in the middle, and it's done.
It's done?
Yeah.
So I guess you have to go super fast for it to fly off.
Say that again.
I guess I have to go super fast for it to fly off.
No, if it's stuck, the speed doesn't affect it if it's stuck. But you just really need to make sure it's stuck on there. Because it's in a vulnerable place, you know. See that thing right there? That thing that looks like a
Yeah.
planter? Then there's a little thing on the other side. That's kind of half of something I'm gonna make. So I'm gonna make, this thing's called a bat. So on this bat, I'm gonna make, again, that thing like that. And then, I don't know, later today or in the morning, they go
It is
together and
morning.
I'll make a.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning? It's already morning.
Yeah, but I can't, I mean, oh, sorry, this thing that I'm making out, it can't be wet and go on there. I'll let it, thank you. I'm not sure I know what I'm talking about. It just needs to be a little stiffer to put together. I left out that part. How are you? Excellent. Last night I asked your daughter, who was it, Charlotte? I said, are you bored? That's a joke.
Yeah.
She said, not yet. No, she said a little bit, and I said, I understand. But that's
She
great
told me
that,
how she actually did with me last night.
oh,
We were gonna go eat Korean food, so she tagged along to the art
oh.
show. She
I mean, I think it's a
art
big
show,
thing.
She was a baby, she's over it.
Yeah. So if I say some stuff about throwing, I know it may not mean anything to y'all, but you pretend, ooh, that kind of thing. So, y'all know about this thing that when if you have 1 pound of clay, it doesn't matter, but as you use more clay, you can pad it kind of in the center. Y'all know that? Did Chris tell y'all that? Okay.
That's all
Saw it on Instagram.
Yeah.
From who did you see it? Who did it?
It's this guy named Torches. He's a Switzerland potter.
He's a what?
Switzerland potter.
And there's another thing, you can actually, you don't have to center. You can actually pat this thing on center, pat it in a flat, and then go like this and open it. You don't really have to center. But that's a heck of a lot of work. Yeah. Melissa? It's all you.
Hi.
It's all you know. I'm gonna
Oh.
throw.
I'm gonna throw here in a minute. I threw I threw a couple of tumblers, not yesterday, day before?
Day before.
Yeah, day before. To get them to a stage called bone dry, which means that there's no physical water left in them, all the water's evaporated out, so that I
How
can
does that happen?
decorate them. How does that happen?
Yeah.
By means of evaporation.
You're so scientific.
Crazy. Oh, so in terms of trimming, this is all I take off.
And what is that tool, Melissa?
This
Gosh,
tool
Melissa, what is that tool?
One of the best tools in the ceramics world ever. This is a sure form. It's like kind of almost like an industrial cheese grater. It's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna chew into your hands. But these are used in, I think, are these used mostly in like woodworking? I feel like I find them in like the rasp section of the
Plaster.
hardware store. Well, but like outside of like the clay world.
Woodworking, but it's a little different, but yeah, they use it in woodworking.
Yeah. So we use these in ceramics, we use these on clay as well as on plaster for making molds, which is a whole nother can of worms that I'm not sure that we need to open that can.
Let's don't go into that one.
So after I throw a pot, a lot of the work that I do, and I'm gonna throw one of these here in a couple minutes. But after I throw pots, this is just cut straight off the wheel head, and I don't trim a lot of my work. I don't trim anything that's tall like this because it's gonna get floppy and top heavy, and that rim is really super fragile. So if I had to turn something over to trim it, and these are plates that are currently flipped upside down, that they're still a little wet. I'm letting them dry, but I'll remove the excess to make a foot ring on them. But anything that's a taller object, I throw as is, and I don't flip it over because I don't want to break it, and I'm a really clumsy person.
Or really what?
Clumsy. I probably should not work with porcelain because I'm really clumsy.
It's too late to change them.
No, it's not. It's never too late to change, George.
That's true, yeah. I'm just feeding you one-liners.
So George's process and my process, we could not be more opposite in the world of ceramics. I brought my digital scale with me because I weigh everything out. But everything gets weighed out. Everything is super precise. I have all my weights and measurements written down on my little wooden stick that also has a ruler on the other side, and yes, it is a paint stick, a paint stir stick from the hardware store. I use this because it has no finish on it, and other materials that have finish or metal or plastic have a tendency to stick to clay. And so I can hold this up to wet clay and it doesn't stick, which is really great and really beneficial. So it's, my students always think that I'm being really cheap by just using like a free stir stick that I turn into a ruler, but there's a reason behind it.
And you make those and sell them as a Melissa tool. The Melissa
The Melissa stick.
Gosh, bringing up making tools. So Melissa and I have some things up there for sale, and also I make tools in some of my tools over here.
I don't really make tools.
So here's George's variation of the peddling knife thing.
You know, of course, I do make peddling knives with a handle, but I've started making them like that. That's a dead-gum piece of artwork, man.
Is that a snake?
I didn't hear you.
Was it a snake?
Yeah,
Anything.
Is it in the dog picture?
Yeah.
So for those of you that are art appreciation that might be considering taking ceramics down the road at any given time or getting involved in clay, George and I have both been doing this for a really long time, and so our skill set, if you sit down at a wheel and you don't have luck, know that we didn't have luck when we started either.
Didn't have one.
Luck with throwing, and it takes a lot of failed pots and a lot of failed work in order to get to the good stuff.
The caliper.
Hmm?
Calipers.
No. Yeah, these are my calipers, but
Don't
I didn't bring.
right.
They're not big enough. Do you have a? Yeah. It's not.
Conventional caliper.
It's not big enough. It's about 2 inches too small.
But yeah, and anything that you guys do art-wise, I'm guessing a lot of folks that are in art appreciation may or may not take an actual physical art class of making, but know that there's a lot of failure that happens, and I always try to encourage people, although it's against everything that we've ever been taught, but to embrace your failure and to learn from it. And I think that goes for everything in life. But don't let failure in any art medium ever stop you from trying harder. Step back, figure out why it failed, and figure out how to make it better in that next go around. And that's what George and I have both done and dedicated our lives to in order to get to the point that we're at now. And I build into my regular year-round work schedule 2 months of for failure, specifically for failure. So I have 1 month right after Christmas generally, when I have no more like all the galleries are like, Christmas sales are done and over with. And then I have another month, generally June or July. So it's about every 6 months I have 1 month dedicated strictly to failure, where I get to try new things and there's no stress. If it fails, I know I tried and I know it's gonna lead me to new discoveries.
1 second, we're good about that.
And like I said, that goes for it goes for pretty much everything in life, but it goes for everything in terms of art. So,
Could you repeat all that? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
failure is important, and not a
Absolutely.
negative.
I am 100% in agreement, and not just about ceramics. Well, I like using this caliper thing.
Is that a big old air bubble you got
I'm
there,
not good enough
buddy?
to get an exact anyway. Right. Yeah.
Is that a big old air bubble?
Yeah, I love those air bubbles.
That's a whopper.
That's not a
I
problem.
can fit one of my pots in there. So George is throwing directly on a bat. He's making big thing. For those of you not in the clay world, when you work big, you want to make sure that you can get your wet clay, your wet now floppy clay off of the wheel head. So he's working on a bat. I'm gonna work because I'm gonna make a couple of smaller things to warm my hands up, and I am expecting failure to happen, but it's a good warm up for my hands to get them just moving and happy again. I'm gonna throw directly on the wheel head. For those of you that are in the ceramics world, this is a really, really great lesson, and I know that all you guys have, those of you in here have have bats on the wheels. The wheel head is marked super specifically. I'm trying to find one of my bats that has markings, and I think it's in use. The wheel head has markings where this center circle is a 2-inch diameter circle, and each circle radiating out from that is another inch. I know, this is how I work. So those of you that are interested in making not necessarily production pots, but repeating a form and understanding growth in terms of how much clay is going to yield how big or how small of a pot, all of these measurements on here for me are super important. So it helps me gauge exactly, I can make the same pot over and over and over again, knowing like, okay, so the base of this pot's gonna be a 3.5-inch diameter base. I've got all those measurements right there. What I've done with some of my bats, here's one, is I went ahead and I made the exact same markings on my bats. So when I throw bigger things and I need that information, I have it right here. It's just done with Sharpie and it does wear off, unfortunately. But it's still easy enough to do. So anybody that's interested in making really tight work.
No, I think that will be usable for me. I could use that as well.
Did you not know that?
No, I just never thought. I've never worked on that.
I live by this. This is like, I don't know how to live without this. And I get really mad at bat manufacturers that they don't put those markings on the bats, especially in education. You know, you guys have the plastic bats, and I mean, like where I teach, we have all plastic bats, and I mean that's kind of industry standard. Why not put those markings on there, knowing that it's a really useful tool? So,
There's a business opportunity there.
I know, maybe that's gonna be my moneymaker.
I think you should be making the bats with the marks on it.
That's right.
That's a great idea. How about it? You need an investor.
Pero Melissa's sticking.
Melissa's stick and the Melissa bats. Okay, so I forget which ball of clay is which. Got two different measurements here. And I'm just gonna start with a mug.
That's what I just made.
Well, I can only put one cup of coffee in it. Ooh, she reminds me.
Okay.
Would you put this outside?
Sure.
Oh, it's not that good.
It's a little bit.
So all of you guys that are in ceramics in here, and those of you who might be thinking about getting into ceramics in here, we were very generously, we're being sponsored by a company called Amico Brent. The wheels that we're throwing on are Brent wheels. So I feel like you can model those. And then Amico, the other half of the company, sent us a bunch of materials to use to decorate our work with that George and I already use to decorate our work. And they sent me a bunch of the booklets of their products. So feel free to grab one of those if you guys are in ceramics. If you're not in ceramics and thinking about getting into ceramics, it's a really great booklet filled with a bunch of information. If any of you guys are considering going into something like art education, or anybody in K through 12 base education, they have lesson plans on their website for K through 12 education. For those of you with kids at home that maybe want some ideas for some things to work with your kids, check out Amico's website. They have a lot of really great stuff on there.
I'd like to, what do we say now? I'd like to echo the remarks of my distinguished colleague. What's your name again? Is it Melissa? Or
You have my full name?
Melissa. Yeah, what's your full name?
Melissa Juliana Mencini.
Juliana. So, Amico, all that stuff she said, fantastic. I agree. Not only for potters, but for any kind of elementary through high school, college, university education. And I have to say that Amico makes really good products. And we're grateful that they supply us with these underglazes, glazes when we do workshops, and we are very appreciative of the company Amico. So thanks, B3, Diana Ferris, Stephen Creech.
Kathy Skaggs.
Say that again?
Kathy Skaggs.
Kathy Skaggs.
Did you meet Kathy when you were in Jacksonville?
No, I didn't. But I think I met her at the
Did you meet Bob Kirk? Did he come out to your workshop in Jacksonville?
I don't remember that story. I mean, of course I met Bob, yeah.
Did you meet Bob?
No, I don't.
You'd get along with Bob.
So where were we? What are we doing? Oh,
Thank you to all the Amico folk that have supported us through the years and
It's
continue to
incredible,
support
yeah.
us. And we use these products we use the underglazes in our real world.
Absolutely,
Like it's not,
yeah.
this is not just for this. So if you guys go to the show and you see, or even over on the table, you look at George's work, you look at my work. I don't know, actually, I have only one thing over there right now. I guess I have a few things over there, but the stuff with like the colored slip, the like swirly cloud design and the red biplane, that's all using Amico products. And then over in the show, we have more stuff. All of George's stuff is decorated with Amico products. So yeah, like we do this like in our real world. It's
Correct.
like I said, not just for this. We're kind of hooked on it because they're just really good and really consistent. And they're super flexible, and once again, in terms of K through 12 education, they're fabulous to use within that realm.
And I mean, there's maybe the term would be for Amico it's not a scholarship fund, but they are very good to elementary and high school programs, and they have some. It may not be a grant program. They have some other things going for those kinds of situations, and they donate so much equipment and material. And I think it's important to realize that, I mean, I've started using Amico stuff in the 80s, so it's all I use. I'm gonna make this chip and dip bowl, y'all know what that is? But you know, I don't make them as a normal, in my own life, but when I do workshops, I do. And you know, chip and dip bowls usually like this little thing with a bowl in the middle. Mine are a little bit different, and they're kind of sculptural. And I'm thinking that if this thing survives, you're gonna have to trim it, because you know it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna be big. It's gonna take a long time for it to dry. Or don't trim it.
It was like,
But,
I mean, even last year, you can cut all these up, and it'll be 5 minutes on Monday, and you can put it on the wall, and we put it on the floor.
I mean, I'm gonna stick the dip thing permanently to it, and just stick a bird on there. So you're gonna have to like figure some way to flip it over. You'll figure it out. You'll make a.
I'll watch
There's
more videos.
Build it up with foam.
I'll throw a couple T-bowls and
So I hope I
inch
made
my
it.
way out. You hope what?
Hope that. Yes. I hope it did.
Melissa, is that a pound of clay?
No, it's 0.83 pounds.
Okay.
And so my measurements, 0.83 pounds is what I use for my mugs. They need to be between 5 1/4 inches and 5 1/2 inches. So I'm right at 5 1/4. So if I try to squeeze any more height out of this, I'm gonna accidentally squeeze like another inch out, and then there's gonna be like a weird thin spot somewhere in there. So yeah, so my mugs are 0.83, my tumblers are 0.9.
Well, how did you arrive at
So that's-
0.83? Did you throw a few 0.78s and a few?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I was doing 0.85 to 0.87, and I just kind of like grabbed like what I thought would be a good amount of clay to use, and then I throw with it and I measure it and I check the wall thickness, see if it makes sense to me. One thing about my work that I really play with, and I'll show you guys this in a minute, is I play with the translucency. So as you're using like something smaller like this and you're drinking out of it, and all of a sudden there's like not as much liquid in it, the sun is gonna come through it and you're gonna see the design from the inside because my clay is translucent. So I do aim for really, really thin in order to play with that idea and that sense of decoration. So it's like a little kind of hidden treasure. But yeah, so I'll throw pots. My clay shrinks 13.5%. I don't fire it all the way to cone 10 like we were talking about. I fire it to a really hot cone 8, which is a lower temperature. It goes up to about 2270, 2271.
So
And,
what you told me is 2271.7.
So that's
Well,
programmed in your
Scots don't have-
kiln? It's
I
just like
do
tired of
it.
this temperature net.
I do a cone 8 firing with a 5-minute hold on the end. So the Scots go up to 2270, I think it's 2270 or 2272 maybe for cone 8. And then that 5-minute
Radiant
hold
heat
kind of
is-
tips it a little bit over the you know, that cone 8 mark. So when I put a cone in there every time because I've had lots of cones over fire. So 8 is like, it's like down. It's like the tip of it's kind of like squished over and a little funky. I've put a 9 in. I need to put another 9 in since I've gotten this newer kiln. And 9's like, it's a little bent. It's not quite a cone 9, but it's almost there. But the reason I do that is because I keep my colors really bright in comparison. 9 seems to get those colors to kind of like dampen out real fast. But But yeah, so I'll fire it to that target temp and then see if it still holds a reasonable amount of liquid, and then go back to those measurements of whatever works. So I'll know like X amount of inches is where I want it to be to yield, like, oh, this is a fun one that people never really can fully grasp. That's what this is gonna turn into. So that you guys can kind of understand that sense of shrinkage. These are the same thing. So I know that even though this looks really, really big right now, my brain understands it from years of working with it as this finished item. So in here for, boink.
That's
So
really
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of it, it's like, this seems like a really obscenely large cup for coffee
I was gonna say.
at this point. But this is a totally manageable size of cup, you know, for a cup. So, I mean, there is a lot of that happens, and I can show you now that I have this in my hand. Oh, this touched the red clay. Ew. Red clay, if I had any red clay into my white clay, you're gonna see all these dark specks, and it's gonna take away all that beauty of that I'm trying to preserve with the white clay.
They wouldn't be like iron spotted freckles.
It would be like iron spotted freckles, and I'm not in love with the iron spotted freckles. So I don't know if you guys can see, like, as I move that light around, you can see the translucency in the clay. And you guys are certainly more than welcome to like get closer to it, and like, you know, I'll have people like go like, I have to go into the bathroom, or like wherever like a dark room is, so that they can see that. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So I like to play with that translucency, and a thicker pot won't allow for that.
So which porcelain are you using?
I use Coleman porcelain. So, and I buy it directly from Aardvark in California, and I ship it over. And they're a great company. I love their clays. They mix my clay exactly how I want it, so I can order a specific wetness.
So how do you specify specific wetness?
Everybody has kind of a different measuring system of measurement, but it's like this, like, it's this tool that you use that like you hit and you measure how far down it goes in the clay. It's gonna measure the softness in the factory. And so like I order my clay at 2.2, and everybody's unit of measurement, like from different clay companies, is gonna be a little different. So when I switch, like if I switch clay companies, it would be like, okay, so I need it like kind of old lady soft, but not quite old lady soft. And so, you know, it's like, I'm like, I'm in my 40s, so we're not 100% there yet. But it's easier, like I can dry my clay out. So that's the easy part of ceramics, or one of the easier parts of ceramics. Getting clay